then there ends up being a gap. There ends up being a lack, and then others have to come to fill that gap so that the church can move forward. But church, the Lord doesn't do anything haphazardly or for no reason. Sometimes we look at the role, and the Lord had to chastise me because I was complaining to someone last night about how I don't believe I fit in this role, and how I don't think I fit in this, and I don't know what I'm doing. And sometimes we complain because we see the role that the Lord has called us to, and sometimes we don't think that that's our role. Right. And so we try to tell the Lord, well, Lord, you know what, that's not my position. I don't have a gift for that. I can't stand up in front of people and talk to people. That's not me, Lord. That's not me. It may not be you. You may not like it. You may not have a passion for speaking to people, but if that is what the Lord has called you to do, then He will empower you and give you the ability. See, what we fail to realize that it's not us that does the work. It has nothing to do with us. This whole kingdom has nothing to do with us, but the Lord is looking for vessels who are willing to work for His glory. The Lord is looking for vessels who are willing and who will go without a murmur to accomplish that which He has given us to do. You see, the Lord knows that there's no big I's and little U's in the kingdom. For every position is important. Yes. You know, I had an opportunity in my job to get to interview and to talk to a lot of people about their jobs. And I remember one of the most interviews that left such an impression on me. I was interviewing someone who used to work for Cirque du Soleil. And the question came up about teamwork and about, as you know, I taught to people to assess their level of English, and the question came up about teamwork. And I was asking his opinion about what you think about teamwork. And he said to me, he said, teamwork is so essential. Because if anyone thinks they're better than anybody else, then the job doesn't become accomplished. He said, you know, at Cirque du Soleil, we have so many different people working in front of and behind the scenes. He said, there's the tent makers who put up the tent so we can have a shelter to be able to do the things that we do that rakes in the money. You know, we have the artists who are on the trapezes and doing all sorts of crazy nonsense that we couldn't even imagine. And then he said, but you know, in the back where no one sees, no one knows about these people. There are people who create the strings that hold the actors and the trapeze artists up. There are those who put together the shoelaces and sew the shoelaces because they have to have special shoes to be able to do all these acrobatics. And they do such intricate work and they don't get any praise, they don't get any recognition. You'll never see their name flashing up in lights when you see the Roman credits. But he said those people are so crucial. That's right. Because if that string breaks, if a little thread comes out, that actor's life is in danger. It's done, for they're dangling from high up in the air, they're hundreds of feet above the air, and if a single piece of their costume were to malfunction, that could be the death of that person. And he said, you know, the people that work in the seamstress department, they understand the importance of what they do, and so they work diligently and tirelessly. After the tents have been put up and everyone else has gone home, you see them continuing to work. Why? Because they understand how their piece fits into the greater puzzle. They understand how what they do, how their role is so important to the rest of what's happening. We need to recognize how our role is so important. For sometimes we see the position, and this is not what I thank the Lord for it. Lord, direct as you desire. Sometimes we see what the Lord has called us to do, and we say, Lord, I can't do that. That's not really important. It doesn't really matter. That's not significant. I don't want to be in front. I want to be where people see me, or I want to do X, Y, and Z. I want to do what I want to do. But when we want to do what we want to do, it's because we're not dead yet. It's because we haven't died yet. And sometimes we make all sorts of excuses. We say, well, I'm not illiterate. I can't really speak well. You know, Moses, when the Lord had called him and spoke to him from that bush, he said, Moses, I want you to go and I will give you the words to speak. I will speak through you. You will be my servant and I will speak through you. And through you will I bring deliverance to my people. Because see, Moses got so caught up in you know, you can only imagine what was going through Moses' mind, having to stand before Pharaoh with his stutter. You can only imagine the fear that came into Moses' heart, for he spent a whole chapter and a half arguing with the Lord and saying, but Lord, I can't do it. Lord, you know I stutter. You know I can't go And the Lord says, am I not the one who created mountains now? Am I not the one who formed you and fashioned you into what I want you to be? I've given you this purpose, and despite, see, sometimes what we don't realize that when we operate in the Lord, despite our shortcomings and despite our failures, it's not us that receives the glory.
That's it.
It's not us who receive the praise. For when you come with your short knowing, we all know ourselves. We know what our shortcomings are. We know what we desire to do and not to do. But when the Lord uses us, He uses us in a manner so that that others can see that it's not us. He uses us in a way that His glory can be manifest through us. For Moses on his own couldn't deliver the people. He couldn't do any great work. He couldn't cast down a rod and make it turn into a serpent. He couldn't turn water into blood. He couldn't cause a crowd of locusts to come and to devour all of Egypt. It wasn't within Moses' natural power to do any of these things. But what Moses failed to realize is that the Lord desired to use him so that the Lord's glory would be seen.
That's right.
So that the Lord's glory would be manifest.
Right.
And so that the Lord would be shown. For as we go on, when we talked about a couple weeks ago, when the children of Israel left Egypt, when they ventured out in Egypt, we saw that the Lord brought them to a dead end. There was no bridge to get to the other side. There was mountains on one side and the children of Israel coming up on the other side and water behind them. It was a dead end. There was nowhere for them to go. But the Lord told them, I brought you here for a purpose. You see, God is such a great strategist. And we don't understand how He works because we just see what's in our little world. We just see how we suffer and how we struggle. And we all have things that we struggle with. There's not one of us that doesn't have things that we struggle with at times. But sometimes we allow those struggles to consume us and to cloud our vision so that we don't see the rest of what God is doing.
My God.
But the Lord is the greatest strategist. He said to children of Israel, I brought you to this place. He said, go here. Not only go there, but camp out for 8 days. You see, if the children of Israel had started to cross, they may have been able to escape Pharaoh. They may have been able to get away. And so from the children of Israel, from their standpoint, that would have been a good thing. Here their enemy is coming with such behemoths, coming to come after them, coming to destroy them. So of course, they want to get out. Which one of us wouldn't want to get out of a desperate situation when we see that someone is coming to destroy us?
Right.
But the Lord said, no, not only are you not getting out, but you're going to camp out for 8 days. 8 days. Give Pharaoh and his army a chance to catch up to where you are. Give them an opportunity to come to where you are. Because I know Pharaoh, for the Lord knows the hearts and the thoughts of man.
That's right.
He knows how we operate. Before we even think a thought, He knows it. There's nothing that we can imagine or plan or plot that the Lord does not even know. Even the enemy, the Bible says that even the wicked is created for the day of evil. Even Satan with all his tricks and all his subtle plans. There's nothing that the enemy can concoct that God doesn't know. But He leaves us in this situation at times as a means of strategy. Because He said, you know what, I'm leaving you here because I know Pharaoh. I know he's going to come after you. I know he knows this region well enough. And I know he knows that this is a landlocked area. So I know that he's going to come after you with such vehemence and he's going to come and try to kill you. But God. See, I know your enemy is going to try and come against you because you're down and out. I know the enemy is just going to tell you all manner of things because your grandson was sick and you've been praying. For so long you didn't see anything.
But God.
See, the Lord will bring us to a place where it seems that there is no other exit. No other way of escape.
That's right.
So that He can open up a door. For see, when the Lord opens a door, no man can close it. And these are things that we know.
That's right.
It's not for lack of knowledge that we get afraid, because we know that the Lord is able.
That's right.
But at times we allow the situation to cloud our minds so that even though we get to the place and we know that the Lord is able, we start to cower. We start to fear. Even though we've learned all these things, we've memorized the verses, we've heard the stories, and we've seen the examples of the great cloud of witnesses that have gone before us and tell us that it's possible.
That's right.
But yet sometimes we get afraid.